wherever in whichever part of the world you are. And today I'm honored to introduce Dr. Raouf Hajji as our esteemed guest on the podcast today. Dr. Hajji is an accomplished assistant professor of internal medicine with 12 plus years of distinguished experience in clinical care, biomedical research, and medical education. His journey spans prestigious institutions, including the Medicine Facility of South Tunisia and influential healthcare organizations in Saudi Arabia. He's driven by passion for healthcare innovation and accessibility. Dr. Haji co-founded and leads the International Medical Community (IMC), which is a pioneering medtech hub that empowers individuals, startups, and companies to advance healthcare technology and transform patient care. In addition to his clinical and academic roles, Dr. Haji is a prolific contributor to the global medicine medical community, serving as an author, reviewer, and editor for multiple peer-reviewed international medical journals. As a sought-after keynote speaker, he shares profound insights into clinical excellence, groundbreaking medical biomedical research, and the transformative power of emerging technologies in healthcare. I met Dr. Haji for the first time back in February when we were the keynote speakers on the Global Blockchain Conference, where he spoke about Healthcare 3.0. And since then, I am a fan of his and following him extensively. If you follow him on LinkedIn, you'll know that his innovative ideas are groundbreaking and they provide valuable insight into current technological advances in healthcare, particularly in AI, as well as his research recommendation on the future evolution of healthcare. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Haji as we tap into his wealth of knowledge and experience and we explore our topic today, which is revolutionizing healthcare with AI from proactive prevention to predictive prognosis. Dr. Raouf Haji, welcome to our podcast.
Healthcare, and so for me, it's opportunity to share insights and to discuss with you and with other experts all over the world the new innovation in healthcare and one of the most important revolution in healthcare since the recent years is the artificial intelligence, and I have accepted the invitation because of it can help us to make the artificial intelligence in healthcare more much clearer and more evident in application and in use, and also in challenges and risks. Thank you.
All right. Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Haji. So, when we talk about revolutionizing healthcare with AI, the first thing which comes into the picture is how AI is kind of making impact in the diagnostics. So, when we talk about the diagnostics impact, we talk about few examples. So, what I can think of based on my limited knowledge and understanding is like AI's integration into healthcare diagnostic. It has shown over the past years it has shown remarkable progress in enhancing the accuracy, efficiency, as well as one of the key areas is early detection capability. So it helps kind of adds to the preventive care. So some examples which I can think of is like the radiologists. They have been assisting the research and the diagnostics in terms of identifying the anomalies, which typically the human element would be little bit limited in diagnosing, so for analyzing and assessing the medical imaging and doing the predictive analysis for patient outcomes. So I just want to come to you asking like how would you characterize the current impact of AI in healthcare diagnostics? So if you can share a few examples based on your experience and probably illustrate how the impact factor has been and how it has been effective.
First of all, I want to say that healthcare is usually linked to the innovation,
Mhm.
because it's where the innovation is driving the healthcare to advance, and to give him tools to advance, to have better healthcare access, to have more accuracy and less risk in the interventions in healthcare. And AI is one of the technologies that is really revolutionizes the healthcare, mainly in healthcare diagnostic, in a way that we cannot imagine how he's changing the healthcare. It was It's like having a hyper focused assistant that never tires on analyzing data. One of
Mhm.
the most impactful examples is in radiology,
Mhm.
and where artificial intelligence can detect conditions such as lung cancer, strokes, or fractures from imaging scans, and with remarkable accuracy. And we have noticed how artificial intelligence has been advanced and developed mainly during the pandemics,
Mhm.
especially for the diagnosis of the COVID-19 lung lesions. The, for example, the Google Health has developed an artificial model for mammogram that reduces the false positives and false negatives. Which is a game changer for early breast cancer detection and for
Absolutely.
earlier treatment and for better outcomes for the patient with sorry with the breast cancer.
Mhm.
Beyond the imaging, we are seeing breakthroughs like DeepMind's AlphaFold, which can predict protein structures. This is critical in diagnosis diseases with the complex molecular basis, mainly
Absolutely.
on rare diseases. On a personal note, during the pandemic, we have seen that artificial intelligence tools helps to analyze COVID-19 data in real time,
Mhm.
helping healthcare system to anticipate surges and
Yes.
allocate resources effectively. And I remember that during the MIT hackathons and European versus virus hackathons during the pandemic, a lot of data scientists and physicians and healthcare professionals and researchers were working together to try to predict which strains that will emerge and what will be the risks and what will be the lesions that can be linked to the COVID-19 pandemic, and what are the potential treatment that can be suggested. This example demonstrates how AI is complemented and not, and I would highlight to this, is not replacing clinician or early healthcare professionals. They are empowering
Right.
them to make the faster and more accurate decisions in healthcare.
No, wonderful thoughts on that, Dr. Haji. So, as you rightly mentioned, right, COVID-19 was a game. Not I'll not use that word. COVID-19 was an inflection point where AI's involvement, specifically in early detection, kind of gave an impetus to the research industry, the medical research and the biomedical research industry to start thinking about more utilization of AI progress in specifically in the disease diagnosis. So we have seen over the past few years, like significant strides have been made, and so as you mentioned about like complex disease conditions. So I want to know more about you and your thought process, like what key areas have witnessed the more significant advances in early detection of the diseases, specifically when we are talking about the systemic and the autoimmune diseases. If you can give some insights on that as well as some examples and thought process on that.
I would like to explain that our work as a physician is based on algorithms. It means
Mhm.
we start by for the diagnosis mainly for autoimmune disease, which is very difficult and very challenging diseases. We need to gather
Mhm.
criteria, and after the gathering the next step, and this is usually is very similar to the artificial intelligence how really working. We collect data, and after the results of the next step, we go to the third step and until realizing the diagnosis of the disease. Artificial intelligence has made impressive
Mhm.
strides in diagnosis systemic and autoimmune disease, areas where traditional diagnostic often fall short. For instance, autoimmune disease like lupus or like rheumatoid arthritis can be notoriously very tricky
Mhm.
and very similar and very, and sometimes they are mixed, mainly on mixed connective tissue diseases.
Right.
They represent the symptoms that mimic other conditions. Artificial shines here and identifies subtle patterns in blood tests, imaging, and even genetic data and human clinician that human clinician might overlook. For example,
Mhm.
algorithm trained on large data sets identified markers in systemic
Mhm.
diseases, predicting conditions
Absolutely.
the years before the symptom becomes severe. In lupus, for instance, artificial intelligence is being used to analyze immune system activity at a granular
Mhm.
level, guiding early intervention. This progress doesn't just save time for the physician and for the patient, but
Mhm.
significantly.
Uh, Dr. Haji, we lost your voice. Are you still there? Okay. Sure. So, great response on that, Dr. Haji. So, when you are talking about the progress and the utilization of AI in disease diagnosis, you mentioned a word about algorithms, utilization of algorithms for data analysis. So, you gave me an example of how the data processing it saves time in disease detection and utilization of AI in disease diagnosis. One other key aspect which I have like been studying, not really observed, but been studying when I have been doing my research and publications is accuracy is one of the key aspects, because that is something which is one of the areas of trust issue when we are talking about AI integration in healthcare. So when you talk about AI diagnostic accuracy compared to the human and the traditional method, so, what do you see as the main advantage of using AI for enhanced diagnostic accuracy when you compare it to the traditional methods?
Yes, the artificial intelligence is a great tool that, associated with the human skills and expertise, can
Mhm.
be very beneficial for both uh, physicians and clinician and patients. And one of the greatest benefits of artificial intelligence is its ability to analyze enormous
Mhm.
data sets that human cannot do with the speed and precision. Traditional diagnosis often rely on human expertise, which, while invaluable, is naturally prone to fatigue and oversight. Artificial
Mhm.
doesn't face this limitation. It can process millions of data points in seconds and covering patterns that might otherwise get can go unnoticed. For
Mhm.
example, the medical imaging, which in artificial intelligence is the most developed, artificial intelligence tools are now identifying abnormalities in chest X-ray and CT scans more accurately than more experienced radiologists, and mainly much faster. In dermatology, for example, also artificial intelligence systems are diagnosing skin cancer by analyzing lesions images with accuracy compared to the specialists. What's key here is that artificial intelligence isn't just fast, but also is consistent. It
Mhm.
brings an evidence-based rigor in the to diagnostics, which can reduce
Mhm.
misdiagnosis and in turn improve the patient trust. That said, artificial intelligence doesn't replace the clinician judgment; it augments
Okay.
it. It's the combination between the human intuition and the machine precision that is driving the real breakthroughs. And in this point, I need to highlight important point is that we should not over rely and over or be overconfident to artificial intelligence. We need a human oversight for the artificial intelligence use and application. Otherwise, it can be very risky for the patient and for mainly and for all over the healthcare.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And even whenever we go to our clients and we talk about the implementation of the latest advanced technologies as well as AI implementation and integration with healthcare, one of the key aspects which we kind of put the messaging across is AI is not here to replace humans, but to augment the human capability. That's are the thoughts which you also reflected. So, and whenever the concept of AI comes into the picture, and specifically the human AI integration and collaboration. One of the key aspects which touches upon every every organization who are planning to implement or already in the process of implementation is the ethical challenges which come which come and we have to face across. These arise also from the trust issues. So typically, what happens is when you are doing the diagnosis and you are utilizing AI, and you, as you mentioned rightly, one of the capabilities of AI is to analyze large data sets, enormous data sets, which normal human being cannot do in a limited time frame. But when that picture comes into the fray, one thing which comes into our mind is the data privacy. Specifically in the Western world, the Europe and the US, they have stringent guidelines about patient health information, the PHIs, and the data privacy, which is one of the key aspects. We have had many issues of data breaches in US hospitals, as well as in some other global areas, global healthcare organizations as well, which impacted millions and billions of dollars, and there were some legal repercussions as well. So, what do you think, from your perspective, the ethical dilemmas? Do you think they arise because of integration of AI in diagnostics, particularly when you're concerned about data privacy, data security, and additionally, one aspect is the transparency of AI decision making?
Yes, of course. This is one of the most sorry. This is one of the most challenging issue in artificial intelligence application in healthcare. Ethical challenges are the flip of artificial side of artificial intelligence incredible potential. One of the biggest issues is that is patient data privacy. Artificial intelligence system require vast amount of data to
Mhm.
train their algorithms, which raises a question about how the data is stored, how it's shared, and how it's secured. Ensuring compliance with regulation, like HIPAA in the US or GDPR in Europe, is critical. But even even that may not fully eliminate the risks, especially with the cyber threat evaluate, which add the question of cyber security in healthcare.
Mhm.
The other issue is the transparency is another concern. Many artificial intelligence, mainly particularly deep learning system, operate as a black boxes, meaning that they provide results without explaining how they arrived at them. For a clinician and certainly for the patient, this lack of an interpretability can be unsettling. Imagine being told that the artificial intelligence say you have this condition, but
Mhm.
not being able to understand why. And imagine using as a physician, imagine the situation that you have the probability that the artificial intelligence have suggested for you a diagnosis for your patient, but you are not convinced how it has reached this result, and it has given you this suggestion, and how to explain to the patient, and how to convince the patient to go for the next step in the diagnosis. Lastly, another point is reported is the bias in the artificial intelligence is a real oppression issue. If the
Mhm.
training data isn't representative of diverse population, the system could produce biased results.
Absolutely.
And this is mainly we see that the most of artificial intelligence tools are produced and created in US, China, and Europe. And what
Mhm.
about the other countries, mainly in Africa, for example, and Asia? Is there the population is represented, the data of this population is represented or no? And this could perpetuate existing healthcare disparities, especially for underserved population. So while the benefits of artificial are immense, we must address this ethical concern positively and work very hard between uh, the technician and the data scientists and the artificial intelligence experts, and also healthcare professionals, patients, and the patient advocates.
Absolutely, and I totally align and with the thoughts which you mentioned about the algorithm and the potential bias in the algorithms for the AI tools. In fact, when I was writing a research on sentient AI in healthcare decision making, one of the case studies is the exact one which you mentioned about. There was a large healthcare organization which developed AI tools. They tried to replicate that tool in Central Africa, but it completely failed. The way the tool behaved in those situations, because the data set which were fed to the algorithm or part of the machine learning process, it was not aligned to the generic population of the Central African region. So that's a very valid point which you mentioned, Dr. Haji. We covered the diagnosis aspect and the utilization application of AI. I'd like to move to the next part of our subject here, is the preventive care as well as the predictive prognosis. So as you mentioned in the utilization of AI, I want to understand, like, AI has multiple capabilities, not just in disease diagnosis, but they are playing a key role in kind of identifying predictive patterns, which give an indication to the physician to understand and assess potential diseases which might arise in the patient. So for example, a patient comes to the doctor and shows some kind of indications, the AI tool can augment and help the physician to identify that that particular patient may be a candidate for future cancerous cell generation or cancerous development inside his body. So from your experience and your perspective, how do you suggest, or what's your thought process, like AI can help and assist healthcare professionals in predicting health issues before they can even develop in the patients? And are there any specific predictive models or predictive prognosis tools or algorithms which you think are kind of a standout in the current world and future healthcare processes?
It's an excellent and very relevant question. Uh, the prevention is one of the aspect of healthcare, which is the least costly, but and also the
Mhm.
most effective aspect of healthcare. And
Correct.
artificial intelligence is another tool that have added a big added value for the prevention. Uh, uh, Artificial intelligence shows its potential really in prevention, and we have seen this in the when in the all worldwide level when
Mhm.
we start using artificial intelligence to predict the next pandemics, and to predict
True.
the during the COVID 19 pandemic the next strains. And this is very very important because it can help us to prepare ourselves, to prepare our healthcare system, and to allocate resources for the next pandemic. In the usually artificial intelligence by analyzing patient data like genetic profiles, lifestyle factors, and even wearable device outputs can predict risks before symptoms can appear. For example, algorithms analyzing heart rate variability from wearable can flag early signs of atrial fibrillation, potentially preventing strokes. Another model is that I find very very exciting is from cardiovascular research, where artificial intelligence can predict heart attacks or stroke by
Mhm.
assessing calcium deposits in arteries for the CT scans from the CT
Okay.
scans. This goes beyond traditional risk scores by personalizing prediction to the individual's unique biology and history, which is
Mhm.
a good advance and excellent advance in healthcare. Another example is in diabetic prevention. Artificial intelligence tools integrated into continuous glucose monitors can predict blood sugar spikes and can
Mhm.
suggest dietary adjustment in real time. The beauty of this system is their potential to empower patient, not only physician but also patient, while giving a clinician actionable insights for early intervention. And usually, when you say early intervention, it's less costly and
Mhm.
efficient and more time saving.
Absolutely. So wonderful thoughts on that, Dr. Haji. And that's one point which you mentioned. Like, typically, as a patient, if we go to the doctor asks you specific questions, saying, "Hey, what's your health condition?" and all. We, as maybe let's say a healthy individual, will not say, "Hey, hi, I've got a potential heart disease or something." But when we go for a blood work, and the beautiful example which you gave of, in the blood work we see some more calcium deposits or calcium outcomes or the profiling. uh, the doctor might not be looking from the perspective of a patient might have a potential health condition, but the AI tools can obviously assist and provide the information to the doctor saying, hey, this patient, although he is a healthy individual, but see, these are some of the spikes which are see, or some of the red flags which I see in his blood work that can be potential. So the doctor and the physician can do some preventive intervention and then prevent some future growth or the development of the disease in the healthy individual. So that's very good example which you gave. So continuing on that, the predictive analytics which you mentioned about the use of AI in predictive analytics, specifically in identifying the potential diseases even before they develop in an individual. One of the key aspect is about the pharmacovigilance as well as the drug development, because they go hand in hand with the predictive prognosis. So how do you see AI contributing in development of preventive medications and early identification of adverse drug reaction as well? Because apart from identifying, these are the next steps which probably go into predictive prognosis.
Yes. Surely artificial intelligence has already made its marks in drug development,
Mhm.
particularly in pharmacovigilance. By analyzing the patient reports and the clinical trial data, artificial intelligence can detect adverse drug reaction for earlier and then traditional monitoring system. And you know that when we are prescribing any treatment in our daily practice, we are struggling to see all the reports to see if similar treatment was prescribed before and has
Mhm.
developed any allergy or any adverse reaction for the patient to avoid to prescribe it for him. Now with artificial intelligence, which can be done by us for several minutes, it can be done in seconds by artificial intelligence, and this is
Absolutely.
very great tool. For example, it's analyzed the reports and the clinical trial data, and can detect adverse drugs reaction from the medical reports of the patient. The example is IBM Watson, who has been used to sift through millions of patient records to identify patterns linked to
Mhm.
drugs to unexpected side effects. On the development side, for a new medication, artificial intelligence accelerate the drug discovery of preventive medication. For example,
Mhm.
it identifies drug candidates by simulating how different molecules interact with the disease pathways. This is critical in areas where Alzheimer's were identified at risk patient. Early and targeted preventive treatment could change the trajectory of care and the outcome of patient by reducing the time and cost of drug development while enhancing safety monitoring. Artificial intelligence is making prevention a core focus of medicine, which is really revolutionizes the preventive medicine.
Absolutely. So very important thought process, and rather you gave me a couple of clue points here when you talk about the preventive medication and probably the drug development, which is like more of a personalized drug development plan and probably a drug administration plan. I'll use that word for the patients. But when we talk about all these implications and applications of AI, we typically are focused on the urban areas, the big cities where the access of artificial intelligence is more. Rather, the access of healthcare is more compared to the rural area. Even in developed nations like the United States, there is a huge disparity in healthcare applications, healthcare services, specifically when we talk about the underserved communities. These are not any specific communities which is based on race and ethnicity, but these are like because of the location, because of their access to healthcare. So that is where I think artificial intelligence can play a major role. So what are your thought process when you can say how can artificial intelligence play a role in healthcare disparities, addressing the healthcare disparities, specifically in enhancing the diagnostic and preventive care for the underserved population across the globe, not specifically in any region?
Yes, thank you for this question. It's very relevant. In fact, despite while it's very sophisticated technology,
Mhm.
artificial intelligence has the power to democratize healthcare by bringing a high quality diagnostic to areas with limited resources. For
Mhm.
instance, portable artificial intelligence powered tools are being used to screen for diabetic retinopathy in rural areas where access to ophthalmologists is scarce. These tools don't require specialists to operate and can instantly provide diagnostic results and help, for example, any healthcare professional and NGP to diagnose the patient and, if necessary, to refer him to another specialist or another ophthalmologist. In preventive,
Mhm.
in preventive care, artificial intelligence can identify community level health trends such as tracking outbreaks and served regions and
Mhm.
recommend target interventions. What's key in is that artificial intelligence system need to be trained on diverse data sets to ensure that they are effective across different population. Without that inclusivity, we risk to widening the gap than rather than closing it. And I think this is one of the important point that we need work in, mainly as healthcare professional, as artificial intelligence expert, and as healthcare stakeholders. By making diagnostic and preventive tools more accessible, artificial
Mhm.
intelligence can bridge some of this iniquities that have long plagued healthcare system.
Absolutely, absolutely. Really important points, Dr. Haji. We talked about the role of artificial intelligence in disease diagnosis when we talked about the systemic and the autoimmune diseases. Right now, when you are talking about doing an outreach to the underserved population, one of the key aspects which comes as part of the preventive care, specifically with a global potential, global bigger outreach, are the preventive care as well as the management of the chronic diseases, because chronic diseases are something which requires continuous monitoring, specifically when we are talking about the underserved communities, specifically in the areas which are not served by the healthcare facilities as well as the infrastructure. This is one area, the chronic disease, where artificial intelligence can play a major role, specifically in continuous monitoring as well as doing interventions for preventive care, which are essential to manage the chronic diseases for, and specifically the elderly population, the senior citizens of any regions or any nation. So what are your thoughts when you say, when we are imagining, okay, artificial intelligence is going from the current situation to the future and doing a potential larger outreach? So how can artificial intelligence, it can help in patient monitoring, in health management, personalized care, specifically when you talk about chronic management, and how it can be like more effective in contributing towards the overall personalized and preventive care?
Yes, thank you. The chronic disease is one of the most costly in
Mhm.
money and comorbidities and mortalities in
True.
healthcare. And artificial intelligence is improving the healthcare, the management of chronic disease, because it's helping to use the data collected by monitoring, and
Mhm.
it's playing a pivotal role in managing chronic disease by turning patient data into actionable insights. For example, wearable devices that track metrics like heart rate, blood pressure, glucose monitoring can feed
Mhm.
data to artificial intelligence system. This system will work in analyzing trends and predict complication,
Mhm.
alerting patients and provides real time, which prevents the complication as early as possible. A great example is in diabetic management. Continuous glucose monitors with artificial intelligence integration provide patient with predictive alerts about blood sugar levels, helping them to make dietary or insulin adjustment before problems arise, before having hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia with DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. And the other example is hypertension with the artificial intelligence driven apps monitor blood pressure trends and suggest lifestyle intervention to prevent escalation and help the patient to understand what's happening in his disease. This constant monitoring doesn't just improve outcomes, it
Mhm.
also empowers patients to take more and more active role in their care, which is essential in chronic disease prevention and chronic disease complication preventions.
No, absolutely. Those are really wonderful thoughts, Dr. Haji. I will rather pick up one of the sentences which you mentioned, and probably it will remain in my mind and maybe give me some ideas for future publications of my research paper as well. When you mentioned the artificial intelligence and the tools which are developed, they pick up patient data and they convert it into actionable insight. I'll give you one example. Just yesterday, day before yesterday, I went for my eye exam, the annual eye exam. The doctor, she always suggests me like, do you want to go for the glaucoma analysis as well as the routine retina, the back wall retina back wall. I'm not an expert on the medical technologies, but the routine retina back wall or probably some kind of analysis. I said, not really, it's not either. She said like, that's okay. But then she generated a report based on my past previous 5 years of the eyeball pressure, the lens adjustment in the lens, and how the eye lenses they react to the light. And she said, she gave me a generate report. She said, this is what our AI tool has created, that do you have a potential for future glaucoma in your eyes or do you have not. So those are the words probably it reverberates with me when you mention about collecting patient data and converting into practical insights, specifically for the elderly population where they have a patient data history which can play a crucial role, as well as the genetic history of the relatives as well as their family history, which can play an important role. So wonderful thoughts on those, Dr. Haji. I'll also honor the time you have spent with us. I'll ask two more questions which will be very close to your heart because you are a futurist of healthcare. You have been giving thought process specifically on the LinkedIn post about what future is or potential for future in of AI holds in healthcare. So my last two questions are around the future potentials of AI. So when you talk about these, we touched upon the aspects of clinical practice, the healthcare professionals, how they can perform, they can augment, they can integrate along with artificial intelligence tools to develop new skills, new outcomes. So as we see over the period of time, last 3 4 years, we have seen AI has become more advanced, they are becoming more and more integrated into clinical settings. So and obviously always the physicians and the healthcare professionals, especially the administrators, they have some kind of a fear back in their mind saying, is AI going to replace us? Although we keep saying it's there to augment, not to replace. But what do you think, like, to go along with artificial intelligence, use it properly, what skills do you think the future healthcare professionals should cultivate, should nurture, and should develop to leverage these technologies effectively and make them more efficient and effective?
First of all, I would like to highlight that artificial intelligence by itself is an excellent tool,
Hmm.
but its quality and its potential depends a lot on our how to use it. And to know how to use it, we need to have skilled healthcare professionals and up to date healthcare professionals. To work effectively with the artificial intelligence, the future of healthcare profession will need a mix of technical and interpersonal skills.
Hmm.
On the technical side, a basic understanding of data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence principles will be essential and crucial for the healthcare.
Hmm.
Clinicians won't need to write algorithm, but should understand how artificial models work and how to interpret their outputs. Equally important are soft skills, which are critical, like critical thinking and communication. Artificial intelligence might flag a diagnosis, but it's the clinician role to contextualize it and explain to the patient. We
Absolutely.
cannot explain to the patient the diagnosis that was given by artificial intelligence without understanding how the artificial intelligence has reached this result. And this is it should we should be convinced to convince the patients about the diagnosis.
Hmm.
Education systems are already beginning to adapt, introduce artificial intelligence models into medical training. This shift will prepare clinicians to use artificial intelligence as a tool, not to crutch. And I
Mhm.
think our role, and I think you and me, we are working on this. We
Mhm.
are raising awareness about artificial intelligence and the new technologies potential, but also we are highlighting its risks and the challenges that we are facing. One of the most important points is that we should not be very afraid about the use of artificial intelligence, but also we should not be very overconfident or over
Mhm.
reliant on artificial intelligence. This point is very, and you don't to take this central position. You need to understand how artificial intelligence is working and
Mhm.
how it can mistake, and how it can give us accurate and good outcomes.
Wonderful thoughts on that, Dr. Haji. I totally agree with you. We should not underutilize, and we should also not be over dependent on artificial intelligence. It's kind of working hand in hand. You gave the aspect of from the future healthcare perspective of utilization of AI for the healthcare professionals. My last question is the application and utilization of artificial intelligence for the end users, which are the patients. Earlier in one of the examples, when you were talking about the personalized care, you mentioned about the preventive care, rather. The preventive care is the least costly and the most effective. I'll utilize those words and frame my next question to you, or rather, this is the last question to you. When you're talking about preventive care and utilization of artificial intelligence, one of the most beneficial population are the senior citizens, the elderly citizens, who have to undergo the typically our reaction and our culture here is like we will not act unless there is something. We don't really care about preventive care. I'm sorry, I'm using that word, care about preventive care, but
For
that's
sure.
the aspect which we have been having. So from the perspective of utilization of artificial intelligence in personalized and preventive medicine, what do you see, like from the future perspective, artificial intelligence fitting into future personalized medicine, particularly when we are talking about customized preventive care, and utilizing the historical patient data and then implementing it, and then uh, probably having the improving the overall patient outcomes. What are your thoughts and final thoughts on that?
Thank you. Personalized medicine is where artificial intelligence potential truly shines. By integrated genomic data, lifestyle metrics, and environmental factors, artificial intelligence can create highly individualized and tailored prevention plans for anyone.
Mhm.
For instance, tools that analyze a patient's genetic risk for conditions like cancer or diabetes or hypertension
Mhm.
can guide early screening and lifestyle adjustment. Artificial intelligence driven polygenic risk scores are already being used to predict breast cancer risk,
Mhm.
helping clinicians to decide when to recommend more aggressive preventive measures. In the future, I
Mhm.
see that artificial intelligence creating real-time health profile where a patient's wearable data constantly updates their risk models, allowing clinicians to intervene before the disease even develops.
Mhm.
The vision, because the vision of medicine is proactive rather than reactive. A
Mhm.
complete shift can how in how we approach healthcare is really important, and we highlighted the role of artificial intelligence and the physician, but we need to also to highlight that artificial intelligence is empowering patients to understand what is happening in their conditions and can help the collaboration between the patient and the physicians.
Absolutely wonderful thoughts on that, Dr. Haji. So I think so. We are almost 45 minutes into the podcast. I really appreciate all the insightful uh, thought process which you have given to us and to our entire audience who have been listening in. And I will also request everyone who is logged in and listening in the audience to follow Dr. Haji Raouf on LinkedIn. And I think so. You send across, you post almost at least one article every day, and each and every article is a gem. specifically if you are into healthcare, even if you are into technology and uh, aligned to healthcare. The thought process as well as the ideas which you present, they are really invaluable for all of us. Dr. Haji, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Thank you so much for giving answers. I think we covered almost every topic which was possible. I know your wealth of knowledge is much more than these 45 minutes of discussion, but I really appreciate your time, your thought process, and sharing across your knowledge and ideas with all of us. Thank you again for joining us, Dr. Haji.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate the fact that you invite me, and thank you a lot. Thank you, and good luck for the podcast, which is a success I see in the LinkedIn and on other social media.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Haji.